Good evening. I am Charles Payne. President-elect Donald Trump making official his economic team. Steve Mnuchin is his choice to serve as Treasury Secretary. We got Wilbur Ross, the pick for Commerce. Of course, these are two titans in the financial area, and they were on this morning, both at the same time with Mornings from Maria, and they laid out their future boss's highest priorities. Watch this.
Our number one priority is going to be tax reform. We think that by lowering the corporate tax rate, we're going to make U.S. corporations incredibly competitive and create enormous amounts of money that comes back onshore and creates jobs.
Average small bank now has more compliance people than lending officers. That's a very flawed business model.
And even at the large banks, the regulators have offices there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's not the way to run a bank. Government is not the right way to allocate capital.
All right, there you have it. Wilbur Ross and Mnuchin talking about the three top priorities: taxes, growth, and easing bank lending. It sounds like music to my ears. Let's ask Shah, Gilani, Jeff DeWit, and Tammy. Jeff, man, I thought you would be in New York. I'm like, we got to get Jeff off of this. All right, listen, you've been a part of this process. You know how Donald Trump is thinking, narrowing it down. Now, there's some criticism, particularly with Steve Mnuchin having, being a Goldman Sachs guy for 17 years, a Hollywood guy for a long time, and then the left, of course, attacking him for some of the things that went on during the mortgage meltdown. For me, I think it's the ideal 1-2 punch.
No, there's no question. These two work well together. To have a Secretary of the Treasury and a Secretary of Commerce with their backgrounds will be amazing. I had the genuine pleasure of getting to know Steve Mnuchin very well. He is extremely sharp, extremely capable. He's going to do a great job. And Wilbur Ross, we all know he's a turnaround guy. I mean, he goes into corporations and takes over failing companies and makes them great again. What better to have as Commerce Secretary? So, it's a really good, like you said, a really good 1-2 punch. And, the agenda that we're proposing right now of a pro-growth, low-tax plan combined with repatriating foreign money, combined with building infrastructure, everything we have coming up here and reducing regulations is something that really is going to get this economy back on the fast track.
Tammy, to that point, Wilbur Ross made his billions going into areas not distressed. I mean, totally left for dead. Carcasses, even the buzzards are like, there's nothing there. Wilbur has a record of going in there and saying, no, there is something here. And what a great parallel to what's happened to our Rust Belt, what's happened to Middle America, to have someone like that who can see in the ashes opportunity.
Yeah, look, this is what really differentiates when it comes to Donald Trump's decision-making versus a politician's decision-making. This is not a team of politicians or bureaucrats. It's a team of action, right? These are individuals like Mr. Trump who have a history of doing the certain thing that we need done for the country. We're already seeing, of course, the benefits with Mr. Trump when it comes to carrier, the nature of being able to do something, a commitment to it. And while I was at first with Mnuchin a little concerned because of his history of giving money to Democrats, the fact is both he and Mr. Ross have worked on the campaign. They already know each other. They're going to hit the ground running. They clearly work well together. So Mr. Trump, the signaling here is that he really wants a business that is going to manage this country, and the change in our lives is going to be extraordinary. We figure he had a year to maybe get things right. This man's already getting things right, and he's not even in office yet.
And here's the thing, Shah. He has doers, people who have accomplishments, people who have resumes. These aren't pencil pushers sitting high in ivory towers in lower Manhattan. So they understand the heartbeat of America, and they know how to get the job done.
They're not politicians. They are doers, and they are Wall Street guys. And so that may be a knock on them. Wilbur Ross, I think, is above reproach. He's done so much in the textile business, in the steel business, in the automotive components business globally that he knows the businesses inside and out. He knows global politics, tariffs, protectionism. He understands all of that. I think he's a terrific choice. Steve, the optics on Steve Mnuchin are a little bit odd because of Goldman Sachs' history, his history with George Soros, Dune Capital, and his takeover of IndyMac Bank and turning it into One West. The optics aren't clear and good with him, but I hope that they work together. The expectation is that they will work, but they've known each other, I think, for 2 decades at least, so they should work well together. I think the onus is going to be on Steve to prove to the American public he's going to do the right thing as Treasury Secretary and not favor the wealthy.
Well, Jeff, I tell you, he made a point of that, even talking about the tax cuts, the tax reductions for the very rich in this country. are going to be mitigated with respect to the debt and everything else by taking away certain, certain write-offs, including, I think, maybe limiting mortgage deductions. But let's talk about the way they laid out the plan, because that's what I admire. Listen, 5%, 6% GDP growth. I know we had that kind of thing in the past, and we're all thinking about Ronald Reagan, but we've got to walk before we run. I do like the idea that they set the table at 3-4% growth. They're going to start with tax cuts, and they're going to put together an infrastructure plan that should not add debt to our society. I mean, I like that idea. How realistic is it?
Well, it's very realistic, and that's why I think you're seeing the market respond so well and go up as it is. And if you notice, small caps are drastically outperforming large caps in this right now market rally. I mean, up 3 times as much as the large caps. So, and what you're seeing is they feel the burden of the overregulation a lot more than the big companies. And to not, to know that even for the smallest of companies, not have to deal with the Obamacare 50th employee problems. These are things that are going to play big into getting this economy back on track. So, and I had the pleasure of getting to know Stephen Mnuchin really well on the campaign trail. He is one of the smartest men I've ever met in my life, and he is a doer, as you said. He's a doer. Both these guys do. They're not pencil pushers. They're not politicians. They're not talkers. These are guys that get things done. They're self-made success stories that are willing to give back their time now to make our country great. And I think we all need to applaud these choices that Donald Trump is making.
Although I will say Mnuchin is somewhat hit or miss with his movies, but that's a whole different topic. Okay.
If I could just add, the secret ingredient, if you will, the secret sauce to getting to that GDP that everybody talks about is consumer confidence. And what did we see just about a week ago? It going up 8 points. Right, in November. Now, so you have a surge here, and that is because it's the expectation of success, but as it's seen, that's going to be the secret sauce that moves this thing along that certainly Obama's never been able to have, and that Mr. Trump, I think, will be used quite well.
We're already seeing it in the markets. The markets are optimistic. They're showing, they're reflecting the optimism that folks have in the economy, and that what the Trump transition team is likely to do. So this is a very positive
and Jeff
sign.
mentioned the small caps, the Russell 2000. To me, that represents small businesses, right? They're smaller businesses and smaller investors. That is Americana right there. That's an enthusiasm that we're seeing already.